No good morning, advice, I know nothing. No, none of that. I'm going to go straight in. David Ches. Yes. Sponsored for all the people that are in the captivities. They should go out l'chaim l'sholem, unharmed. And they should give them all Yeshua and the whole Yidden, the whole Yiddish folk Yeshua. Okay. Schön. Sagt die Gemara, David Ches mit Beis. Okay, so the first thing we mentioned, we touched upon it last week, but we went through it quickly. Let's go it over. If there's smoke, does it mean is there fire? Or if there's not fire, is there at least a candle? Is there even less than that? Zag the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Reuven ben Atztrabuli. It's the medium big lines, not the fat lines, not the narrow lines, the in between, and right in the middle. Amar Rabbi Reuven ben Atztrabuli. Ein adam nechshad b'dava ela imken asoy. A person is not suspected of doing something unless he actually did it. So if you have a rumor goes around about someone that he did something, a suspicion, you know for sure that he has done it. Okay, so we're going to take it down a notch. V'im loy asa kulay. Maybe if he didn't do the entire thing, asa miktsasa, he did a little bit. V'im loy asa miktsasa, you can less that even if he didn't do anything, at least here, believe he thought about it. Okay, he thought about it. If he did not think about it in his heart, so others that did it, and he was happy. So we had in the Gemara says in Malchus that a person that has a chashad, if someone is suspecting someone about something, is tzadich lehoidio, you have to announce it to him. You have to tell him that he has a chashad, or the person that is being choished, the person that is being a suspicion about, has to go around and tell people, no, it's not true. So I think it's like from the same what's it called? But basically, that if there is a chashad, then you have to do something to take it, and otherwise it's a good suspicion, and you're suspected of something, whatever it is. Now the Mashal adds on Hil Beliboy, the Mashal says, how can, so there's a rumor going around, and this guy just thought about it. How does everyone know about it? So Mashal adds, the Eibush has his ways. The Eibush has his ways of letting people know, putting a rumor inside someone's head and then making it up. So basically, the klali right now, the general rule is, if someone is suspected of doing something, there is a very good chance that it's true to a certain extent. Either he did it, he did some of it, he thought about it, or he saw someone else do it and he was happy. We're going to ask a few questions, and basically, according to those questions, we're going to categorize them that there are certain instances where we don't say that if you're suspected of doing something that you have done something in actuality. So Rabbi Yaakov asked a question. Vayechpo b'nei Yisrael. Yechpo is from chipui, cover. So the Yidden covered basically b'nei Yisrael dvar mashlekein al Hashem lekechem. The Yidden basically covered up on the Eibishter. What does it mean? The pasuk says over there that the Yidden made up stories about the Eibishter. They said, and one of the things they said, that the Eibishter doesn't know what's going on in the world, doesn't hear, doesn't do. Means not the Eibishter is not something that we have to be worried about. And they basically went around saying, they were saying that the Eibishter made a rumor about the Eibishter. The Eibishter doesn't know what he's doing. So if you say that when a rumor goes around, then there's truth to it. So the Eden went around making a rumor. That's got to be true. How can you say it about the Eibishter? And for the Gemara, okay, so we're going to do an exclusion. Hasam lahachis u'da'avid. They did it to upset the Eibishter. They didn't actually mean it. They spread this rumor to push it upset the Eibishter. So we have one exclusion. Not every time are you suspected of doing something. When you want to just upset someone, then this is not counted and the rumor is not counted. So you have to go back to the source, seeing who started the rumor. Did he do it because he wants to upset someone?
Assuming that has application also to Barnash.
Sure, 100%. 100%. That has to be on a day-to-day basis.
If somebody makes a rumor because he has a problem with him, or because he's jealous, or because he's
correct.
Angry.
So you have to always go back, and we'll see there's even more to it. Tashma, next question. Vayekanu leMoshe b'machane. This is a pasuk in Tehillim where this describes the machlokas of Koilach, and it said like this: Vayekanu leMoshe b'machane. They were jealous of Moshe. Vayekanu is really like jealous of Moshe in the machane. Le'ahadin kadosh Hashem, and they were also upset at the Hadin, which was holy. So Vayekanu leMoshe b'machane. The kinui is, you can read it jealous, or you can read it kinui like a soita that's mekana for the husband tells the wife, don't hide with anyone that I suspect not good things. Zok the Gemara is in Sanhedrin, we learned this in Chelek, that the Yidden where the Yidden, Rav Shmuel Yitzchak Amam, Lamed Shekol Echad Kinul Ishta Moshe, everyone was suspecting Moshe of doing something, and basically later on what Moshe did was that after the end of the whole Koilach story, Moshe took his oil, his tent, and moved it out of the Machane, and that shows us what the original intent of the Yidden was. That something in the Machane, something in the encampment was wrong. What does it mean? That the Yidden were going around telling their wives, don't hide with Moshe, because Moshe is not such a, why did I say that? Because, Mepharshim write, that they went around saying that it's not possible for a Yelud Isha, for a person, for a human being, to be separated from a wife for that long. He was still married to Tzipora, but he was separated. It's not possible for someone to be separated this long, and saying that I did not having tivus. So basically, that was the story of Ekanal Moshe Machne. What was the story with the Hadin? It doesn't say here exactly what the Hadin says, but the Hadin we know. Hadin Koidach, the initial fight started with the Hadin. Moshe Rabbeinu took the Melucha, he became the Nasi, and they came to Moshe and told him, Alon, why do you give Alon the second in command? Give it to someone else. So that's the issue I had with Alon. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Moshe. So we see the Yidden went around and they spread a rumor about Moshe, saying that he is a dangerous person. Do not telling their wives not to hide with, not to go into hiding with Moshe Rabbeinu. So again, same question. If we spread a rumor and you say that every time the rumor goes around there is truth to it, what can you say about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu, you really think Moshe Rabbeinu did something? What Abisha said that the Chol Beis in Emonu and all these things. So I think we have to find another exclusion. The Pashat hated Moshe. At this point in time, Korach managed to turn the entire nation, or most of them, against Moshe. The Pashat had a hatred. It's different than upsetting someone. Upsetting someone, you don't have to hate him, you just want to upset someone. Here, the Pashat hated him. So if you want to upset someone, or someone hates someone, we also don't count the rumor, the story. We don't say that the rumor is true. Toshma. Omer Rabbi Yosi. We're going to ask two questions. Rabbi Yosi and Papa both said that people had rumors about me, or people should have rumors about me. Rabbi Yosi, Chelki, my portion should be as someone that is suspected of doing something, but I don't have. If you say that any time there's a suspicion, even if just a thought, then there is some truth to it, why would you even want to be in that category? Why would you agree to be in that category? And not in more than that, Papa says he boasts about a story. They suspected me about something. At the end of the story there was nothing there. Why do you go around boasting that someone was suspecting you? It doesn't sound good. According to what we just learned, it doesn't sound good. And for the Gemara, so we have a third exclusion to this general rule. So the Gemara, like Kashia, Hobe called the pasuk. Here's about a rumor that stops. Hobe called the pasuk. So if you have a rumor that stops, then you know going back that the entire rumor doesn't make sense. If the rumor doesn't stop, then we know it's true rumor, and then there's some truth to it. Whether you thought about it, you did it, or you agreed with your friend, doesn't make a difference. But there's some truth to it. And by the Pap and Rabbi Yosi, it stopped. So the question is now, what's the length of the rumor that has to go around? How long does the rumor have to go around in order to be considered a long rumor, a real rumor, or to be fake news? The call the leposik at kama and a call and a rumor that doesn't stop. How long? When is it considered that it's not stopping? Abaye said, my mother said to me. And by the way, on a side note, that Abaye says Abaye's mother passed away very young. He had a stepmother or someone that raised him, and he affectionately called her mother. She was actually a very smart woman. She taught Abaye many of the things that Abaye taught, especially in medicine. Abaye was a person that had he had a weight issue. So somewhere had a weight issue, but in any case, Amy was not his real mother; it's his stepmother. So my mother told me, do me a made-up story. The Masa in one town, Yoima Palga. A rumor to go around. In those days, there was no WhatsApp, no email, no fax on this. In those days, it's a day and a half till it travels around. Today, if I would even say an hour is good enough, because within an hour, the whole world knows about it. So, Duma the Masa, Yoima Palga. So that's a rumor. if a rumor starts in the beginning of the day and it's in a full day and a half, it goes around, the city's talking about it, and everyone, all parts of the town are talking about it, then you know there's truth to it. And even if it stops afterwards, but you know that there's truth to it, and that's a bad thing. It means the guy did it. But if within the day and a half the rumor stops, then you don't say that it's a true rumor, you stop there. In that we can also differentiate over here a little bit. The Gemara sagt weiter, if a full day and a half go by and the rumor goes around, when is it considered a full day and a half? If it's non-stop, if it goes from town, from neighborhood to neighborhood, it goes around. But if there are periods of time where there's an empty, where the rumor doesn't travel around, exactly what it means I don't know, but basically it's not a constant rumor that goes around.
Internet was down.
Yeah, then we don't say we don't look at it as a full day, and then we don't consider it a true story. And again, if it did stop, that the stopping has to be done by itself, naturally, organically, not because of an outside force. If a threatening, a bullying, something came and told a guy, the story was there's a story that the Rosh Hashanah's wife, I believe it was Rosh Hashanah's wife, did something bad, and so he went to town, went Ezgi Klap that everyone should know, and she wouldn't do tshuva, she wouldn't go back. So he went around town telling everyone, Rosh Hashanah's wife did so and so. He was connected, and he went to the governor, to the mayor of the city, and they made up that anyone that's going to talk about the Rosh Hashanah's wife is going to be fined 100, whatever, the crown, whatever they had over there in that town. So Rabbeinu Snaibish gets up in shul, on a busy day, busy night, and a klap tois. Everyone should know that Rosh Hashanah's wife did azoy and azoy. And here is 100 crown. If I would have another 100 crown, I would say again that the Rosh Hashanah did it, because I don't have the 100 crown. I'm not going to say that she did it because I don't want to be over. Basically, 15 times repeating it. If there is a koil delay pasak, it's what's it called? If there is a outside force that tells you that you cannot go around saying this thing, then a day and a half is not going to, even if it stops in a day and a half, we still consider that a good rumor, because we know there's an outside force stopping the rumor from going around. If it stopped because of fear, because of threatening, because of intimidation, then we don't look at the break in between, not to make it a complete day. If a day, less than a day and a half go by, it's 3 hours, and it stops. And then a little while later, it jumps up again with full force. The nova, it sprouts out again. Then you say that even though it wasn't a full day and a half, it's still considered a true rumor. And another thing, if the guy doesn't have enemies, if the guy has enemies, it doesn't make a difference how long, how short it is. If he has enemies, the enemies are the ones that are putting out this rumor, and therefore the entire thing should not be trusted and not be believed. Okay, sagt die Mishnah. Ein koisvin stodei choyves. Ein koisvin stodei choyve moed. We don't write any stodei. Stodei choyv is a person gives a lender gives a borrower money. The borrower writes a paper and an I owe you note that I owe you this and this amount of money. So the Mishnah that if you trust each other, we don't write such a shtar moed. If he does not trust him, if the lender does not trust the borrower, or the borrower and the lender might have a friend, or one of them has a friend that is a soifel, and he's out of a job during Chol Hamoed, and we'll see soon maybe why he's out of a job, and they want to give him panos, so to hire the guy to write a shtar, to write an I owe you note. The eichel goes on the soifel, that the soifel does not have what to eat, so therefore you give the soifer money, and then they write the note even though they don't really need a note. Maybe that's why the Sefer doesn't have money on Yom Tov, because on Chol Hamoed we don't write the Sefer Torah, we don't write Tefilin, we don't write mezuzos. But not only can you not write, you can also not be magir, you cannot check over and fix, and even one letter. Afilu b'Sefer Ezra. Sefer Ezra is two ways of looking at it. Sefer Ezra, one way is looking at it. What's this? More stuff? Sefer Ezra is, you can read it with an aleph, you can read it with a hey. Sefer Ezra, we know Ezra was a sofer, and he wrote a Sefer Torah, and from the Sefer Torah is really what we have, the generations we have, all the Sefer Torahs we have from that Sefer Ezra. As it's famous, the Haim Yoim by Petzua Daka, that the Sefer Torah in Prague, they had a Kabbalah that it was a Sefer Torah that Ezra was Magia. That's how old the Sefer Torah was. So, as the Philip said, he heard that that's from Sefer of Ezra. So even if it's such an important Sefer Torah like Ezra Sefer Torah, we don't check or fix any letter in that Sefer Torah. You can read it with a hey, the Sefer in Azara. In the Azara, they had one Sefer Torah that was either read on Yom Kippur, or they say that the Sefer of Ezra was in the Azara. So even that, it's such an important Sefer Torah that the Kohen read it on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. We don't fix it on Chol Hamoed. Okay, so that's the Tanna Kama. We don't write, we don't fix. So Yehuda Omer, Koisev Adam, Tefilin and Mezuzah La'atzma. A person can write Tefilin and Mezuzahs for himself. Okay? You can write Tefilin Mezuzahs for himself. Not Sefer Torah, but Tefilin Mezuzahs you can write them himself. V'tova al direcha tchelas tzila tzitzis. When you spin tchelas, they had a spindle, they had a certain device. But on a Chol Hamoed, if you need to make tzitzis, you can't do it on the device, you have to do it on your thigh. Okay. And Tosfos adds that tefillin and mezuzahs you write just the regular way because you can't do a shinui. But anything that you can do a shinui, like the tzitzis, you can do a shinui, so you can write that in a different way. Sagt die Gemara weiter. Sagt die Gemara. Tana Rabbanan. Koisev Adam tefillin mezuzahs la'atzmoi. A person can write tefillin and mezuzahs for himself. V'tava al yideicha tchelas l'tzitzisoi. And a person can spin tchelas on his thigh for his tzitzis. That's the halacha. For yourself, you can do whatever you want. If you want to write or do something for someone else, you cannot sell it. You can only do it as a favor. To write for someone else, or make tzitzis for someone else, betoiva, only as a favor. Diva Meir. Meir says you could write for someone, but you cannot write to sell. You can only write as a favor. So if someone doesn't have money, this does not help him because why would he give it to someone? But for himself, you can write on Chol Hamoed. Zog the Gemara weiter. Rabbi Yehuda says, Mairim u'moicha shaloi. Rabbi Yehuda says, if you can write, yeah, if you can write for yourself, you're gonna write for yourself, and then I say, I don't really need it, and now I have tefillin already. If they're sitting here already on Chol Hamoed, I might as well sell them. So Rabbi Yehuda is a little bit mekel, and he says you can sell it to someone else. Rabbi Yossi Aimer. You can sell and write and sell just regular if it needs panasa. The Rav gave a psak for Rav Chananel. Rav Chananel was a sofer. Rav Chananel was also a Rav, the Nasi, and he gave a psak to Rav Chananel that what halacha koisev moicha kedakoi kedei panasa. You can write and sell just regular in order to get panasa. So kedei panasa, we have to look at it. What exactly does it mean in order to have panasa? Is it that we should have just to buy bread, the beer basics? Or kedei panasa means if you, instead of eating chukai roast, you're buying ribeye steak. So yeah, so the Ashi says Barchova. But we're not talking about Misha Elamai. We're not talking about someone that doesn't have.
So he could do it.
Yeah, that according to the Ashi, everyone agrees you can write and sell if you don't have what to eat. But if you want to have al-chava, so according to the Ava, you can't. You can only write to someone a favor. According to the Yehuda, you could, but you can't really write to someone else. You can write for yourself and then sell to someone else. According to the Yossi, yes, if you want to have a chava, no problem. Write. Don't do any tricks. You can do it. Others don't say that. Others say that no, dafke, it's talking about dafke if it's needed. And even when you pasha don't have what to eat, the mayor says you can't. Rabbi Yehuda says you could with a trick, and Rabbi Yossi says yes, you could write. So there's a mechalikas how to learn it. But here comes an interesting thing, and we're going to deviate a little bit from what the Gemara, if you allow me. This is the Gemara that speaks about tefillin in Chol Hamoed. Now, there is a big machlokes over the generations if you put on tefillin on Chol Hamoed. It's not like we know today that no one puts on tefillin on Chol Hamoed. Most people don't put on tefillin on Chol Hamoed. That was a progression over the years. As I looked into it, it was a very interesting thing how it progressed over the years. So,
Litvak still do, no?
not all. So I'm going to deviate a little bit from the regular Seder. I'm going to go look in here, and this is where we're going to need the Mendy Shapiro's input from the Zayda, from his Elta Zayda. The Divid Chaim was what to you? That was right. Great.
Oh, it's 2
No,
pages.
it's 2 pages. More?
Give it to Usher.
So it's 2 pages. Now you have 4. Okay, here. Make a difference. Okay. So in the Gemara, it does not say clear if you put on tefillin Chol Hamoed or not. This is the Gemara that speaks about tefillin. Now, when the Rabbi Yehuda said Koisev Adam Tefillin Mezuzah Atzma, the Yehuda said that the person writes tefillin and mezuzah for himself. What does Rashi say right here in the Mishnah? Rashi says La'atzmoi Lekayim Ze HaMitzvah, to do this mitzvah. So on Chol Hamoed, to put on tefillin, if you want to put on tefillin on Chol Hamoed, you can write tefillin. So from Rashi, l'chayda is mashma that you put on tefillin on Chol Hamoed. But other people say that Rashi doesn't mean it this way, but it means that he put it away for someone else. But basically, we have here, the Gemara does not speak about putting on tefillin. The Gemara speaks about writing tefillin on Chol Hamoed. So here it's like this. How do we know that we don't put on tefillin on Shabbos? And do we not put on tefillin on Shabbos? So there's a machloikas. In Menachos Daf Lamed Vav and basis, the Gemara there speaks about tefillin on Shabbos, taking off tefillin Shabbos as Shabbos comes in. If you have to take them off or not, or if you were walking somebody to put them on by Shkia. So the Gemara asks us, and it says you have to take it off. You have to take off tefillin. So Microsoft, what does he hold? What does this Moed hold? If you say night is not a time of tefillin, then Shabbos Nam is the month tefillin. Sorry, Laila is month tefillin. Night is month tefillin. Then Shabbos Nam is month tefillin. Why do they go together? Because very simple. Because they come from the same pasuk. Where you learn that Shabbos you put on tefillin, you also learn that night you put on tefillin. Where you learn that night you put on tefillin, it's also Shabbos because the same pasuk, as we'll see in a moment. But if he goes, it says differently. The Shabbos is Lav's month tefillin. Shabbos was never a time to put on tefillin. Laila Namilas month tefillin. Then again, it's connected. If Shabbos is not tefillin, then you also don't put tefillin at night. Why? The Mehechad the Ma'ita Shabbos, Mahasim Ma'ita Leilos, from the place that you are Ma'it, you exclude Shabbos, you also exclude nights. What's the source? The Tanya. Said that it says in Shmois Yud Gimel, when it says in Pasuk that you put on tefillin, we say it every day by the Moed Katan. And then the Pasuk says, what does the Pasuk say that in Moed Katan? And then the Pasuk says, "V'shematu as achuka azois." It speaks about Pesach, and then it says about tefillin also. And then it says, "The Shemat as a chuk azois." You should keep this mitzvah lemoyada in its time, miyamim yamima, day to day. Now yamima means every day. Miyamim yamima. The miyamim is superfluous. So we don't need the word miyamim. Not only don't we need the word miyamim, we don't need the mem and we don't need yamim. So we can learn 2 things. Yamim teaches us v'lo leila. It's not the nights. Miyamim, the extra mem, v'lo kol yamim. Which, and not all days. Which other days does it exclude? Prat l'Shabbos is v'yom tovim. It comes to exclude Shabbos and Yom Tovim. So we see from a pasuk miyam yamima that Shabbos you don't put on tefillin. This is not the reason that is known. We all know about ois, that Shabbos is an ois, and all the Sfarim and Allah, and it says about ois, not about yom yamima. So this is the next shita. Basically it says Shabbos is not on tefillin. Abakiva Ayman. When it says it does not speak about tefillin, it only speaks about Pesach. So now, if you go according to the Bakiva, where do you know that Shabbos is if you don't put on tefillin? He learns that from wherever Bakiva learns that. The Tanya, Bakiva said, a person should put on tefillin Shabbos Yom Tovim, Tamad Loimar. And the same pasuk over there, it speaks, this pasuk does speak clearly about tefillin. And it says, "V'hoya le'ois al yotcha." It should be as a ois, as a sign on your hands. If you need an ois, if you don't have an ois that day, then you need to put on tefillin. That tefillin is going to be ois. But if that day has a sign of connection with the Eibusha, you don't have to put on the tefillin. Yot Shabbos Yom Tovim Shein Gufim Ois. So basically, this is the source of why not Shabbos and Yom Tov.
From this, there's the man Omer maybe that if someone doesn't have a bris, they should put on film Shabbos.
Okay, because it doesn't have a but Shabbos is a noise.
Shabbos itself.
He doesn't have a bris. He only has one bris. You have to have two bris.
Oh yeah, the
every
ois,
day.
what's it called? Oh, Shabbos. Okay, could be.
I think Bapoil, the Psak Din is you don't put on film.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. But
So if you came and listened to my Shloim's Bamitzvah Pshat, it discusses about putting on tefillin on Shabbos, and there's a shit that says Shabbos you put on tefillin. The only reason you don't put on tefillin is because maybe you're going to take it off and carry it in your head, and that's the gzeda like of Rosh Hashanah gzeda. Anyways, so we have machlokes of Yossi and Rabbi Akiva. Why does everyone only mention the ois? Because whenever there's a machlokes of Rabbi Yossi v'chaveidoi and Rabbi Akiva v'chaveidoi, the halach is Rabbi Akiva. If it's Rabbi Yossi v'chaveidoi excluding Rabbi Akiva, the halach is Rabbi Yossi. But if Rabbi Akiva argues with his chaveidim, the halach is Rabbi Akiva. So that's the Gemara Edim and halach Rabbi Akiva chaveidoi. So therefore, we go according to Rabbi Akiva on the source of not putting on tefillin on Shabbos Yom Tov is from the word ois. So now comes the ois. We have to figure out what the ois means over here. So the Dash, which was the father of the Torah, wrote very clearly that you put on tefillin on Chol Hamoed and you make a bracha, and it's brought under the Torah. Shabbos Yom Tov tefillin. That's halacha 1, halacha 2. Base v'choyle shel moed yesh mistapkin boim. There are people that have a suffix because it doesn't say clear in the Gemara. Im uzman tefillin umani, and therefore because the suffix maniach chaysim, we put them on beloy bracha. V'adoyni avizal, my father, which was the Dash, he would put them on and he actually made a bracha. So we see the Dash, which was one of the first the Shonim that had Piskei Halachas, that started doing compiling halachas. He wrote clearly, we put on tefillin and we make a bracha. His son already want to step down. They said we could put on tefillin, but we don't make a bracha because there's a suffix. So the Bes Yosef on the Torah writes like this. So first, to give you context of it, the Dash lived from 1250 till 1327. The Zoyar was by the Shimon Bar Yochai was discovered in the same time period. That same time period in the 13th century, there were big arguments whether the Zohar is a made up thing, whether the Zohar, because it was, we had times of Shabtai, but basically the Zohar was at that time people arguing back and forth. And eventually everyone agreed the Zohar is a Heilig Sefer. Everyone agreed the Zohar was written by Rabbi Shimon, and most of them agreed. Even the Gra agreed that the Zohar was written, and you learned the Gra was a Baal Kabbalah, a bigger Baal Kabbalah. And but at the time of the Dash, that was the time when they discovered the Zohar in Spain by the Moshe Dilano or something. Anyways, so the Dash lived in that time, and the Bes Yosef writes like this: the Dash says we put in tefillin and we make a bracha, and the Dash writes v'yesha manichin tefillin b'loy bracha. Some people go and put in tefillin and don't make a bracha, but you don't have to make a bracha. But if you do make a bracha, you don't lose anything. So therefore, you see the Dash himself had a little bit of a suffix whether you make a bracha or not, and he says if you make a bracha, you don't lose out chaz v'shalom. You don't have to say baruch Hashem kavod mechusay or any of these type of things. By the way, a lot of people paskin when the people that make two brachas of tefillin shel yad and shel rosh, when they make the tefillin of shel rosh, afterwards they say baruch Hashem. That's it says that they make a bracha and then they say baruch Hashem because of the suffix.
The Rosh would say this about also for Shabbos. But this is just for Chol Hamoed.
This is a Chol Hamoed.
So we're done with the whole idea of Shabbos.
No, right now just the source. But in this source, it doesn't speak about Chol Hamoed. It speaks about Shabbos and Yom Tov. And from it came out the whole, what's it called? Okay, so the Moed Katan, the Maram says you put on min bracha, the Smak says you put on but the bracha. The Rashba says, when I have it stamped to bring down, they write you don't put on tefillin at all Chol Hamoed. So we see that in the time of the Dash, the time of the Bes Yosef rather, he already compiled that there's a difference. The Dash, Moed Katan, Maram with the bracha, the Smak with the bracha, and the Rashba says in Raivet the most you don't put on tefillin. Writes the Bes Yosef. All the people of Sfarad, the Sfaradim, they don't put on tefillin Chol Hamoed. But I heard in the beginning of times, the Sfaradim would put them on. Why? Like the Rosh said, he put on tefillin. Then they found the Zoyar, and they found the Picha Kos he found that he wrote something. Not only should you not, but it's also not allowed. And that's why, according to that Zoyar, they did not put on tefillin. The Zohar was discovered by the Moshe Delonel. He lived in the same time as the Dash, so basically that's the time. Okay. We gaan kos Moed. Doidi, as a word is the what's it? Let's skip the next. We found it in the pasuk Shir L'reach Shmanachem Toivim, and this is the Zohar in Shir Shim, an unbelievable Zohar. Rav Amnuna Sava Amar. Rav Amnuna Sava said like this: Ilain Inun Yamim. These are the days, the Iklum Toivim, that are called good Yamim Toivim.
This is a Zohar right
This
now?
is the Zohar.
I'm learning a Zohar
You're learning right now.
Farfartzik.
You're going to go into mikveh today?
No.
The Inun Tefilin Dereisha. These Yom Toivim are called Tefilin Shel Rosh. Why? The Inun Tefilin the Kutshabicha, because these are the Tefilin of the Eibishter. Who Manachlin? The Eibishter, the Kutshabicha Manachlin. These are the Tefilin that the Eibishter puts on. So Yomim Toivim, the Eibishter puts on a special pair of Tefillin, not like the regular Tefillin that when you put on Tefillin, the Maimel Isa Medrash Tefillin says when you put on Tefillin, the Eibishter puts on Tefillin. This is a different set of Tefillin, a special set of Tefillin. Valdokim Toivim, that's why they're called good. Why? Begin because the Inun Nahadin Bereisha, because it's a light on the Bereisha, on the head, the Kutshelah of the Eibishter. So the Eibishter puts on Tefillin, it's a light that's called Yom Toivim. V'chol Asar, in every place, Yomim Toivim Inun Tefillin Reisha. Yomim Toivim are called the Tefillin Shalosh. The Kutshelah Manach and the Eibishter puts them on. Chol Hamoed, it's not Yom Toivim. The Loik Yontif, it's not called Yontif. They're not called Toivim, not called good. They're not Tefillin Shalosh. Elaine, they are Tefillin the Tefillin of the hand. The Holesle Lesia, an example of the moon and the sun. The sun shines, the moon only reflects or only shines because of the reflection of the sun. The Lesla Lesia Migal the moon is no light from itself. Only from the light from Yontif does the light of the sun, does the moon shine. The light of Yontif of Tefillin Shalosh, the Chol Hamoed shines. So the Chol Hamoed is Tefillin Shel Yad. Tefillin the Tefillin Shel Yad. Loi Nehira does not shine Elamigoy, only through because Nehira the Tefillin Shel Rosh, because of the Tefillin Shel Rosh. Tefillin the Reisha, Yom Toivim, Tefillin the Droy, Chol Hamoed. Basically, summarizing Tefillin Shel Rosh is Yom Toivim, Tefillin Shel Yad is Chol Hamoed. V'Shapek Alma, this is what Rabbi Amnuna Sova said. Very good. V'Hachin Azoidos. Okay. V'Aldam Chol Shel Moed, Iulin Navir to Chol Shel Moed. To do avoida, to the avodas Hashem or avoida Gavna the Yontif is like Yontif. Itzla Chedva Gavna Lei. You need to have simcha and Chol Hamoed. The avoida of Chol Hamoed is also to have simcha like Yontif. Not as strong as Yontif that is b'samachta b'chagecha, but Chol Hamoed also has simcha. Because of that, be'ilan yoimim the inun tefillin the mo'al. In those days that the Eibishter puts on tefillin, and the Eibishter puts on tefillin on the Yidden, takes his tefillin and puts it on the Yidden. Also la nocha shat tefillin, not to put on other tefillin. The Ha'ilan Yoimim, because these days, Yontif and Chol Hamoed, the Inun Tefillin in Loin, Shine al Reshen Yisrael, condition the Tefillin in Loin, the Heilige Tefillin of the Eibishter sits on the heads of the Yidden. And here, it speaks only about Yontif, not Chol Hamoed again. So, fact, Rabbi Lazar Shal Rabbi Shimon Avoy, Rabbi Lazar asks Rabbi Shimon's father, Amalei, told him, Tein, nach Tefillin the Reish, okay, very good. Yontif is Tefillin Shalosh. You said that the Eibishter puts his Tefillin Shalosh on the Yidden. The Shayin al Rashayin, the Amma Kadisha, that the Eibishter puts on the heads of the Heilige Yidden, the Yontif. But Tefillin Shel Yad, which is Chol Hamoed, how do we hold on to Tefillin Shel Yad? What is it? What happens there? Zot Rabbi Shimon ben Choy, Amalei begin because Danana Chodin La, because we hold on to the Eibishter. Ve'ir Yad Keyam, and he put on Tefillin on the weekend. Shel Yad, he put on Tefillin on the weekend. Therefore, you do get the Tefillin of the Eibishter during Chol Hamoed. You do, but you put on the weekend on Chol Hamoed. Also, lemebed avidata b'sitad le'inah, to do any avoida in the side of Chol Hamoed, because you put it on the yatkei on the weekend. That shows that you shouldn't do any work. That's why putting on tefillin on the weekend. But again, you have to be very happy in Chol Hamoed b'sitad tefillin d'reisha, because tefillin shalosh is the main thing. The side of the tefillin shalosh is the tefillin shel yad, and you have to be happy on Chol Hamoed as well. Now, this is the piece. V'amo kadisha. Achadin Tefillin, the holy nation holds on to Tefillin, the Moya Alma of the Eibishter from the world, V'shayan alai b'yontef, and it sits and it rests on the Yidden b'yontef, u'v'choyle shel Moed. And now, v'osu le'avoda Tefillin, the Moya Alma l'Reshen, you're not allowed to remove the Tefillin of the Eibishter from your head. To do what? Le'anocha Tefillin nachrin, to put another Tefillin. The Inun Dugma, these other Tefillin are only an example, u'diyoikne, a copy, the Sato, a lower copy, not the real thing. And he gives a mashal. There was a Malka, the boy Lenat, he wanted to guard his Evet, his servant. Amalei, the king told the servant, Aveit Chaisama, make yourself a stamp, kediyokna de chesama delete, like a copy of my stamp. And basically, now that he made a stamp, he told him, Kol Zimna, that the Hahu, the Yukna, is Chazalach, when this image, this vision of the copy of my stamp will be seen on you, Koila, everyone, Yizun, will sweat, V'yitchalon, and will fear Minach from you. Like we know, the Rebbe spoke, that, which in Gemara, that V'lo Chol Hamoed, Ki Hashem Hashem Nikola, Chaviyah Meka, with Tefilin, what's it called? So this is obviously an example of Tefilin, that when the Yid Goyim see a Yid putting on Tefilin, they will fear. Okay, after a little while, the Yid, the servant was walking around with a copy of the stamp. Levasa Migoi, after a little while, V'chimulo, he loved him. The Karachim, the Malka, the king loved him so much. So what did he do? Yahav B'yadei, he gave into the hand of the servant, Chosama, the stamp, the Gushpanko, like the original beautiful stamp. Kivan, the Achit Chosama Elah, the Malka B'yadei, as soon as the servant was holding the original, the Eivishtas, Chaysam Shavag Minei Yahud Yukna Yovet. He let go of his own copy. What do I need a copy for if you have the original? Not stam the original from the Eibishtan. Zokta Tlachzachain. However, if that servant Doche Chasamay Lamak, he would push away the Chaysam of that king of the Eibishtan. Why? Because Begina Yahud Chasam Yovet, because he wants to keep the stamp, the copy that he made. That servant is deserves to die, deserves to be executed. Why? Begin David because he made a joke, or he was very with the stamp of the Eibishter, and he wasn't worried about the Eibishter's covet. So therefore, this is a mashal, a parable for Tefillin. Tefillin also, the Eibishter told us to make Tefillin and put them on every day. This is the copy. On Yantev and Chol Hamoed, the Eibishter gives us his own pair of Tefillin, that the Eibishter wears a special pair, and says, this I'm putting on you. Are you going to go now and take off the Eibishter's Tefillin and put it on your own Tefillin? Not possible. Begin kach osalam kadish el dachi chasam malke lo the shoreland begin the yukna the anan avdin. That's why the Yidden cannot push away the stamp of the Eibishter because of our own copy. Hi b'choyle b'moed b'choyle shmoed. This is a moed chol shmoed b'choyle shkem Shabbos, and definitely also on Shabbos, because that's the ois. They're kol and shayal, and because the Tefillin all rest upon us. And this is Shabbos, is Erev Shabbos by Kabbalah Shabbos is Tefilin Shal Yad. Mala Shabbat is Tefilin Shal Yad. Shabbos Yom Tefilin Reisha. So the Eibishter on Shabbos, Pasha puts on Tefilin on a Yontav and a Chol Hamoed. Now finishes the Bes Yosef. Now we know that in the Talmud does not discuss about putting on Tefilin Chol Hamoed. In our Talmud, it does not speak about putting on Tefilin Chol Hamoed B'chlal. Me Ye'elav Liboy, who is going to be so mighty, or who is going to have the chutzpah lageshes la'avoy b'makom asay al divu b'shem lechoy, to go and be oiven of b'shem lechoy, says very clearly that if you put on tefillin, you own tefillin on Chol Hamoed, you are chayiv misa. Hamaflegach b'isa, that he goes so on in such length about that issue. So the Beis Yosef writes on the Tul that although the Tul says you can put on tefillin without a bracha, and the Lush put on tefillin with a bracha, but we, the Sfarim, stopped putting on tefillin at all because they found the zoil. Later on, the Bes Yosef wrote the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch, he wrote it in. Sif Ale, b'Shabbos Yantav Asel Linech Tefilin M'shin Atzman Ois, V'im Manichem Bem Ois, Ache Hoi Zilzal Ois Rahem. It's a zilzal. Chol Hamoed, Gam Ken Asel Linech Tefilin Matam Zeh B'Atzman Shem, Chol Hamoed Gam Ois. That done. Bes Yosef writes his lalacha, and he's done with the lalacha. Haggah, who was the Haggah? Was the Lama. The Lama was Ashkenazi, lived in Krakow. So the Lama writes, V'yesh Oimrim Shechol Hamoed Chayav B'Tefilin. The Sfaradim in general lived in Spain, where they found the Zoya. They were, over the years, there were more Mekubalim. Everything is Mekubalim. Open up a Sfaradim Sidon and you see Sheamus and everything. You don't have that so much. They were into Kabbalah a lot. Ashkenazim were not so much. They weren't sure if the source of the Zoya is correct or anything. So anyways, the Ashkenazim, Yeshem Shechal Moed Chayav Tefillin. Huh? In all these surrounding areas, in the whole Ashkenaz and the whole Lanichem Moed Ulevadachalem. You don't say it out loud. You don't read it out loud. Okay, that's the Shulchan Aruch. Comes a Taz on the Shulchan Aruch. It says, what's the story with the Lush? He didn't see the Zoya. So I know Taka Lush Atzma Kosav Vamvorach Lehivsid. Shema Minosh Ein Chiv. You don't have to make a bracha. What does it write? The Huleo Sefer Zoya. The Lush did not see the Sefer Zoya. When I looked, that's
insinuating that if
Harry would maybe. Basically,
had he would have seen it, he would have answered it.
But that's why I looked up the timing that the Lush lived and the time when they found the Zoya, because I wanted to see what goes on. So I found that the person that found the Zoya, or that was Megal the Zoya, because the Zoya wasn't Megal for years later, Wataka lived in the same time, and there were big machlokes in those days. People wrote a lot of stuff back and forth whether the Zoya is a true thing or not, or a made up story. So the Taz writes that had the Zosh seen the Zoya basically, he would have changed this, what's it called. The Alter Rebbe writes, and he already compiled from all these, what's it called?
See, he prepared a whole shiur, he videoed it. Finally,
I'm gonna have to cut this out. Zak the Alter Rebbe, Siv Beis in the what's it? The first Siv speaks about that Yom Tov and Shabbos they're gonna don't put on film. Siv Beis, and Alter Rebbe summarizes beautifully because he also says, where did the machlekas happen of the ois? You said that Tefilin is the ois, Tefilin is the ois, Chol Hamoed is the ois. Why? Where did the difference come that the Dash says that Chol Hamoed we don't have the ois, and others say Chol Hamoed is also ois? So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain. There's two ways of looking at the ois. What is the sign that the Eibusher gives us on Yom Tov? Is the sign that the Eibusher gives us a specific set of mitzvahs that we do, and as long as that mitzvah is on the table, we cannot put on another ois. We cannot put on film. For example, Pesach, you have not eating chametz. That's throughout the 7-8 days of Pesach. So as long as that ois of not eating chametz exists, we don't put on film. Sukkah is sitting in the sukkah for the 7, 8, 9 days. So during that period, that's one way of looking at ois. That the ois is the making the mitzvah that is designated for that Yom Tov. Another way of looking at ois is the fact that you're not allowed to do a malacha. Is ois, the Eibusher said, I want to make a difference between you and the goyim. I put an ois. What's the ois? That you can't make a malacha. You can't do any work. On Chol Hamoed, there is ways to do work. So that's the Dash says, I say ois means not doing malacha. Doing Chol Hamoed, which you could do a malacha, you can put it film. Some say that the ois of Shabbos and Yom Tov is about the chiyuv mitzvahs that are connected at Yom Tov. Therefore, Chol Hamoed is also not zman tefillin because on Chol Hamoed, Shara mitzvahs tluis by Pesach, by Minias, Achilas Chametz, or b'Chag Matzos, or b'Chag Matzos. Yeah, Chag Matzos is a shiur b'Sukkah, and Pesach on Sukkah you have to sit in a Sukkah. So ois means the mitzvah. The fact that you're not to make a malacha. Therefore, Chol Hamoed, shemut malacha min atayil, you're allowed to do malacha min atayil, not min rabbanon, chay b'tefillin. In these surrounding areas of Russia, Ukraine, Poland, they put on tefillin devach aleim, and the she'en mevachim aleim b'sakneses b'kalam. You don't make a b'dach loud, and he gives the reason why. Two reasons. Number one, that the Chol Hamoed also there's a little bit of a kedusha of the ois. The oil, some people say that you don't make a b'dach Chol Hamoed, and therefore you don't make a fight. So in order to keep away from the fight, don't put on. The Alter Rebbe finishes off. Whoever puts them on without a b'dacha, yafo oisa. Because sav b'chzakla and the b'dachas in the market, you don't have to make a b'dacha on tefillin. You can put on tefillin without making a b'dacha. The Alter Rebbe Piska Siddur writes. The right doesn't speak b'chal about Chol Hamoed. The only thing he adds over there, he says, "V'chein amaniach tefillin b'chol Hamoed b'levdacha." Whoever puts on tefillin Chol Hamoed doesn't make a b'dacha. But the Alter Rebbe himself in the Piska Siddur writes basically, it's mashma that we don't put on tefillin. The Alter Rebbe was a Talmud of the Magid, which is Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. Shem Tov was the one that brought Kabbalah, the Poel Mamash down to all the Chassidim. So all the Talmidei HaMagid and Talmidei of the Baal Shem Tov and Talmidei HaMagid, which is basically the entire Chassidish population, these were the only Ashkenazim that went with the Sfaradim and they don't put on tefillin. They don't put on tefillin. Even the Misnagdim, the Talmidei HaGadol, the Gadol was a big Baal Kabbalah, and he also learned Kabbalah. Even the Misnagdim, many of them don't put on tefillin. Many of them don't put on tefillin. And the Odach was the Otake from the Misnagdim, and he writes, Kol Sfadim Ein Manichim, Kol Ashkenazim Manichim. Ach Ata Manichim Blacha. Even Ashkenazim they put on with that Blacha. V'chein Ola says, if you put on, don't make a Blacha. People say different opinions. You have minig of asayni b'yadayni. You have your minig. Do whatever your minig says. Zok the Odach. This was after the Alter Rebbe already. A few, I don't know how many years after Alter Rebbe. I think about 100 or less. The Ashkenazim themselves also stopped putting on tefillin Chol Hamoed. If you have one shul, don't one guy go to the corner and put on tefillin, one guy not. Everyone don't put on tefillin. What? I wish I knew. But came one Chassidish Rebbe, and he said, "I'm going to do it different." Paskent that we put on tefillin. So not everyone puts in tefillin. Your great grandfather David Chaim made a takana. A few takanas that were controversial, let's say, in those days, but he had his time and his reasoning. It's from the only Talmidim that the David Chaim was a Talmud of the Neftala of Rapshitz, which is a Talmud, Halberstam, which was a Talmud of the Noam Elimelech, which was a Talmud of the Maggid. The Noam Elimelech was the oldest Talmud of the Maggid. The Alter was the youngest Talmud of the Maggid. So, but the David Chaim lived in the same time period of the Alter Rebbe.
The end.
At the end, yes, the end. 12 years, 13 years or something. Anyway, so he wrote that you should put on tefillin, I believe even with a bracha, on Chol Hamoed. Then it said not everyone, Bachrim should put on tefillin. Later on it became Bachrim until the age of 18. If you didn't marry by 18, whatever, they wanted you to be married by 18. But that was there was one of the things that he went against the entire Hasidic landscape and said you put on tefillin. I remember, I was a kid. There was one family. There was a Baba family, but also they come from Halberstams, and they put on tefillin Chol Hamoed. And so that's your Zayda.